My name is Matthew Marcus. My wife and I and my kids, we've been going to 24 for about 2 years now, over 2 years now. We moved here to Tennessee from California 2 years ago. The decision to move itself was an easy one because we knew we wanted to get out. But what made it really hard was that the church that we attended in California, the people that made that church body up were the church that Sarah grew up in. And that church was very much a family. Sarah grew up with a group of people where she had 30 sets of parents. What that meant for our children as we started having kids was that our kids had 30 sets of grandparents that loved them and cared for them and prayed for them. And like my number one concern, or maybe even fear, was coming up, pulling my family away from a really, really amazing church home. It's really even still hard to talk about those people that we love and that we had to leave, not knowing if God was going to provide something like that again. And we ended up moving, drove cross country with a massive moving truck, myself and my wife drove in the minivan with the kids, and they ended up getting sick in Colorado, and they stayed, and my wife said, hey, you need to move on. And so I ended up doing the rest of the drive myself in the moving truck, and I got here on a Saturday evening. And the previous owner, he was moving out the front door as I was moving in the back door. And once it got dark, he ended up taking me out to dinner, and we started chatting. And I'm like, "So you guys go to church? Did you and your family go to church around in this area?" And he goes, "Yeah, we go to that 24 church down in Pleasant View." And I'm like, well, isn't that quite a ways to drive? And I said, "No, Pleasant View's like 15 minutes down the road." And so I show up and I walk in, and the only people that even say a word to me are the people at the door greeting and shaking hands. And I walk in and I get a chair and listen to Nate up on stage and the band, and I enjoy the music. It's a little loud, but I like it. And then Chris gets up there, and he's got his ripped jeans and his I think it was purple hair at the time, and I'm thinking that's a little weird, but he starts preaching, and everything's solid, really solid. And Jay Penny gets up there and starts doing announcements, and my voice inside me is saying to myself, well, nobody said anything to me. Maybe this isn't the family church that we're looking for. Maybe this isn't it. And there's this smaller voice inside of me that then pipes up, why don't you stop being so selfish and thinking everything's about you and people need to come up to you? Why don't you try and take a chance and walk up and talk to that big guy with the beard? Why don't you see if they're really not friendly? And I'm like, okay, I guess I better do that. So I go up and talk to Jay Penny, and everyone who knows Jay Penny knows that he's the friendliest big teddy bear on the planet. So that goes great, and he invites me to his home that evening. I end up at Jay Penny's house with him and his wife, and I think I was there past midnight, and we were chatting and getting to know each other, and I was just floored. I was floored that the one thing that I would have been concerned about coming out here ended up being, and that was my aha moment, was like God just saying, why were you concerned? Why were you afraid? I told you I would take care of it, and he did. And I cannot voice how much this church means to my family, and knowing what this church is doing now, right now in this moment. This is a time and a place for this church, and it's now. And there's things that God is going to be doing very soon. And I am humbled, and I'm extremely grateful and thankful that God brought us here for that moment.